I was asked to read my entry. I hope you won't find it boring, but if you do, it's only 2 pages, double-spaced. So you won't have to put up with it for long.
It's really good. She's being modest.
Okay, I was born in St Ives Maternity Hospital in Hubert Street, East Victoria Park, which is just across the way there, in 1957, which makes me 65 and Jennifer Lynette is 60. And she's the doll in the dark dunny. The first home that I ever remember is 5 Moorgate Street, which is just around the corner. Moorgate Street's that street that comes off almost perpendicular to the library. The house is still there. It's a little weatherboard cottage. The house dates back to 1925 according to the Real Estate Institute of WA. My great uncle Harold purchased it in the post-war period after he was discharged from the Air Force, and he sold it to my parents in 1959. We moved in shortly before my 2nd birthday. At the time that I wrote this entry, which was May 2021, the house was still standing. I'm assuming it's still there, I didn't check. Literally a stone's throw from the library, and typical of the period, it's a weatherboard house with a tin and iron roof. And it's painted blue-grey now, but when we had it, it was yellow because Mum liked yellow, and I always thought that our house looked quite cheery amongst all the other more sombre colours of the houses in our street. When we lived in the house, it had a number of outbuildings. It had a driveway which led to a large garage workshop, big enough for at least 2 cars, at the rear of the property, which was an unusual feature because most of the houses in the area lacked a driveway and most people didn't own a car. Owning 2 cars was practically unheard of unless you were very wealthy, and if you could afford 2 cars, you probably didn't live in a suburb like the East Vic Park. We were fortunate enough to have 1 car, so half the building was a garage, Dad's workshop, my cubby house, etc. So there's quite a lot of room. We also had a mechanics pit with a 3-walled shed built around it. You could drive a car over the pit and stand underneath it to work on the car. The pit only occupied about 1/3 of the space, so there was plenty of room alongside to store items such as the wheelbarrow and the lawnmower and other gardening implements. Adjoined to that shed was an L-shaped aviary which hid the outdoor toilet, commonly referred to, of course, as the dunny. The aviary served to hide the view of the toilet from the house as well as housing our birds and our rabbits. Unfortunately, in the early 1960s, stricter control of the Vermin Act meant that my parents had to get rid of the rabbits, and that did not go down well with me at all. So this is the photo. This is a photo of me with my dog and the doll that was taken in the Moorgate Street house. Today those outbuildings no longer exist as the block has been subdivided and another house now stands in their place, but as a child they provided lots of places for me to play. The dunny features quite prominently in many of my early memories. We were never scared to use it during the daylight hours because Mum kept it pristine, clean and insect free, so there was never a redback on the toilet seat at number 5. But having to use the outdoor facilities at night was another story. When I was little, I didn't have to worry about it because I had a potty under the bed. My parents had to be brave though and venture out into the dark, and likewise I had to do that when I started school and was considered too old for the potty. In those days, everyone had outdoor toilets except for our elderly neighbour, Mrs. Mack. She decided to have an indoor toilet installed on her back veranda, the first indoor toilet in the neighbourhood. It was quite a sensation. Nobody but Mrs. Mack was allowed to use it. Kids and visitors still had to use the outdoor dunny. One of my earliest memories is of returning home after dark from a day's outing with my parents. My mother ran a bath for me and told my father to keep an eye on me while she went to the toilet. Moments later, Mum came running back to the house screaming to my father, "Peter, Peter, there's something in the toilet and it attacked me." Dad grabbed his rifle and charged up the backyard to deal with the intruder. He came back laughing his head off and clutching a large cardboard box. In our absence, the postman had delivered a package. The package contained the talking doll, sent to me for my birthday by my grandmother who lived overseas. Finding no one at home, he was loath to leave it on the front doorstep where it could be stolen. So he got the bright idea to leave it in the toilet, reasoning that sooner or later we would have to go there and find it. He left it propped up on the toilet seat. However, when Mum opened the toilet door, the box fell forward. The doll said, "Mama," and Mum fled back to the house, screaming in fright, imagination running riot. Now, her voice box has probably deteriorated over the decades, but this was the terrifying sound. Mum's never been allowed to live it down. So almost 60 years later, I still have the doll, and when I commented that on the to that effect on the Facebook thread that was discussing tonight's presentation, they said, "Oh, bring her along, bring her along." So I did, and she got new socks and shoes for the occasion. This, as I said, this was the original doll with the original dress and my dog. And Mum finally realised her dream of an indoor toilet when we moved to Lathlane Park in 1966. So there were no more random attacks by dolls in dark dunnies.
Okay. So, Carol, can I ask you, when you first saw information or advertising about the awards for 2021's Local History Awards, what did you think?
Well, it was purely an impulse. For some reason, the original post advertising the History Awards just suddenly showed up on my computer one day when I was browsing through Facebook. It just popped up, and I don't even recall that I ever got anything from the library before, but it suddenly cropped up on a Saturday morning when I had nothing to do, and the date for closure was Tuesday, so I only had 2 days to do it, and I thought, oh, this looks like fun. So I just quickly dashed off, as I said, just 2 pages and sent it in. Never dreamt I would win anything, just sort of did it for fun. Yeah. And it was fun.
Well, I tell you what, I haven't stopped laughing and sharing that story. It never fails to bring a smile to my face, and I share it, and you've got to read the best story. So, did you have trouble thinking about what you would talk about? Like when you just thought, oh, it's so close.
It was more like, what do I leave out, you know? I decided to just, focus on one thing, which was, memories of the outdoor dunny, because, kids today just... They just can't comprehend that, But there's lots of other things that I can talk about, so I thought I might enter in again next year and mention some of the things. Like, I remember when we got the I remember when this library actually opened on Mint Street in 1962, and the Somerset Pool, which we before that we had to swim in the Swan River with is it Swan? No, Canning, no. The Como, down at Como, we had to swim amongst all the jellyfish, because we didn't have a pool. So there was lots of things I could have talked about. Yeah. The problem is that people think nobody's going to be interested in the mundane, but they are.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Someone shared on Perth Reflects, which is a popular Facebook group, their school backpack today from like the 80s or something with ACDC brand, and it's already got
I saw that
coming up, so you just never know.
I think that's how the Vic Park Library thing showed up on mine, was because I was on Perth Reflects, and I think it came through that way.
Yeah, well, maybe it did, because I do regularly share it on there, so I'm just glad it did. So can you describe just briefly how you entered the awards? What did you do? Did you have to...
It was all online.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you have to drag up any family photos or go to too much trouble or anything? Did you find
No, not
hard
really.
to get it all together and package it?
I don't recall whether I had to scan the photos in and attach them, or whether they already had them on the computer, but it's easy enough to do. Scan a photo, attach it, Yeah.
Okay, and so just a few, in summary, just quickly, overall, if you were talking to someone else and if you were to recommend entering, what would you say?
I'm not sure, but possibly would try to encourage them by saying that everyone always thinks their stories aren't interesting, but they are. Other people are absolutely fascinated, and history isn't just about big events like wars. Knowing how your grandparents or great-grandparents lived through those times is just absolutely fascinating. And I think we need to share these stories because, you know, pretty soon they'll be lost if people don't record them.
Very true, very true. Oh, well, thank you, Carol.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.